this conversation. It's on facebook.com/JoyNews on TV, and on Twitter it's at JoyNews on TV. Now, Speaker of Parliament Professor Michael Quay is calling for the establishment of a West African Electoral Commission charged with the mandate of minimizing electoral malpractices and improving governance. Now, the Speaker explains such a body will enable countries learn from each other and check the excesses of some leaders in the sub-region. The question I ask, what do you make of this suggestion?
Well, I think the Speaker's call is a wrong call, because as a state, Ghana is a sovereign state, and we should rather be thinking about actually strengthening our institutions. For a Speaker of this country to call for a West African Electoral Commission, is he trying to say that the Electoral Commission that we have now is not competent enough to organize elections anymore? And I mean, these things are not done anywhere. When you look at the Western world, the Asian world, and all of that, some of these things don't happen. And you know, Africa as a continent has always looked up to some of these countries. So I believe that if you are doing something, we should rather measure it.
The Speaker's call might be quite far-fetched, because every country has a sovereignty, the absolute power to decide what it wants, whatsoever that it might be. And in as much as yes, we are all part of certain international organizations and we forfeit a bit of our sovereignty to them in agreeing to certain principles in nature, I do not think that subscribing to a West African Electoral Commission that will bring about that is what will bring about changes. It's about we as citizens, as Africans, depending on the country you are in, and your sovereign will must be able to determine what sort of election you want to do and what sort of democracy you want to practice.
Well, I believe that it's not a good idea, because we are independent states, and each independent state should have its independent electoral commission, so that it wouldn't be the case where there's going to be some sort of interferences. So I believe that each independent electoral commission should represent each country and not a general electoral commission for West African states.
In a point, I think that's a brilliant idea, because looking at Africa right now, we are still in a democratic era, but Africans seems not to understand the word democracy. So we are still going back to our conflict day when there was coup and other stuff. And looking at what is happening in the other African countries concerning the election, it's very bad. So I think if this idea is coming up, we should support her. It will help to prevent conflicts in the African countries.
All right, many interesting comments from the streets. A lot more of the comments are on Facebook. Araba, let's check them out.
Okay, Nasir Hassan Yaima says, I don't think this is necessary. It's a waste of time and resources. Everything is possible on this planet Earth. I have even seen a goat turn into a sheep before, so save us that money, Mr. Speaker. And Apana Charles writes, it's a laudable idea, Mr. Speaker, but how can it be executed? And Kwabena Tuntum Kama Kessie writes, I don't usually bring my private life on social media, but I desperately need your help. Okay, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Bayer Jeremiah writes, the suggestion is good, but we can't achieve the intended purpose if we don't have one single database for these countries. Good point there. He says West African's EC can only operate effectively with strong, credible, and transparent systems in place, which single database is one of them. And Anama says, I think it's a great proposal that Africa needs to embrace, because electoral malpractices in Africa is getting worse, and it needs immediate solutions. Example is the recent election in Kenya.
And Adnan Jambedu says, this suggestion is more than welcome. However, as with ECOWAS itself, it will become a white elephant, but I think it is a call in the right direction. We learn best practices from other places like Ghana and adopt some of those to help other countries like Togo and Gambia. And Siame Jonathan writes, it is not a bad move anyway, just that those who would be appointed or elected to take charge should distinguish themselves from the normal individual countries' practices when it comes to elections. Very, very brilliant comments.